Hi everyone, welcome to my latest vlog. So I've been in Washington a couple of weeks now, and this weekend I actually decided to head up for a sneaky little weekend up in New York. Now there was a reason for it. There's a show called Little Shop of Horrors playing on Off-Broadway at the moment, starring my favourite drag queen, Jinx Monsoon. And so before I even left Australia, I had thought, could I get to New York by myself 2 weeks after just completely moving all the way over here? And I just thought, I've got to try, I've got to do it. So I booked it all before I left, the train and the theatre ticket and the hotel, and planned it so that get the train in the about 5:30 on Friday, and that meant that it would get me into New York just after 8. I took the quick train up there, and then found a hotel that was very close to the train station I was coming in at, and then it just so happened that the theatre wasn't that far from the hotel as well. So it was all I thought very easy. So shouldn't have too many hassles. Also, I didn't want to look like an absolute tourist, so I packed very, very lightly, and I just took this backpack and tried to cram as much stuff in there as I possibly could, so that I wouldn't look like a tourist and get picked on. So because of that, I couldn't take my camera. I really just got my phone camera, and that's all I've taken shots of for the weekend. So the quality of the photos aren't very good. That's the phone camera, or my bad photo taking. It's probably a little bit of both. So here's some photos of the train trip in to New York City. So I got into New York and stayed at I can't remember the name of the place. I'll probably put it in here somewhere, but it's a Wyndham Hotel, La Quinta, something like that. Anyway, it was on West 38th Street, and I managed to get there pretty easily. There's lots of people out and about, and so I felt quite okay going along the street. I think with the train trip in, it just floored me that I'd been through 6 states to get to New York on a 3-hour train trip. So I started at Washington DC, and I haven't counted that because it's a sort of like a territory, or it's not really a state. But I then went to Maryland, Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and then New York. I think that's 5, maybe 6, I'm not too sure. Anyway, so coming from Australia, where when you travel 3 hours, unless you actually live near a border, the likelihood is you're not going to get through a state in 3 hours. And the other thing is, I think we only have 6 states and a couple of territories. And one of those states is actually an island. So there's no way you can actually go through 6 states in Australia in 3 hours. So this is just blowing my mind, really, that I could actually do that and stop at any of these places. And I stopped at places that I've heard of, and in TV and movies and stuff: Baltimore, Philadelphia, Newark, New Jersey, and Wilmington, Delaware. And so it's just all rather bizarre, and I do find myself just going, I can't believe I'm actually in the United States. But anyway, that's another story. So the train trip in was really, really good. I showed my ticket to the conductor. The conductor has one of those square kind of hats that you'd expect to see in old type movies, but they still wear them today. So I was freaked out by that, and I nearly did want to just sort of get a bit of a photo with this guy, and he was really, really lovely. And I gave him my ticket and my driver's license, Australian driver's license, and he looked and went, "Oh, Australia, okay, I've got 2 questions for you." And I'm thinking, okay, all right, here we go. And he said, "What's your favourite football team?" And of course, well, I said Adelaide Crows, because, you know, they're the best AFL team. And he went, "Oh, okay then." I don't know if you'd ever heard of them, but anyway. And he said, "The second one, what's the worst Australian beer?" And I'm thinking, well, shit, there's a lot of them. And I'm thinking, are you thinking 4X? He was thinking Foster's. And so we had a bit of a chuckle about that, because I said, oh, well, you know, I'm not really a beer drinker. But anyway, he let me stay on the train because I could answer the 2 questions from Australia. So that was funny. The announcers, they tell you where they're getting to. So when they're coming up to a stop, Baltimore was the first one, and they'd say, okay, the next station's going to be Baltimore, please get your stuff ready, and you know, if you're getting off at this stop, next stop, Baltimore. And they say it like that, and I just had a little bit of a chuckle. So then every time they start with, you know, just normal talk, this is what's happening, we're stopping in Baltimore, blah blah blah, and then at the end of it, Baltimore. I loved it. Unfortunately, they didn't do that with all of the stops, only some of them. But obviously Baltimore's very, I don't know, lilty, lends itself to that kind of thing. So I thought that was quite funny. So I got to my hotel, didn't really do too much else except settled in for the night. So because the main reason was just to really go and see Little Shop of Horrors, I used this weekend as a bit of a tester, because I'm thinking there's so much that I want to see in New York. I'm not going to do all of it in one weekend, but at least it gives me a bit of an idea of how to get up there and get myself around and just check it out. So I managed to try, well, I mean, I planned it so that everything was all in the sort of the one area. So I was in Midtown Manhattan. So for those that know New York, I was in Midtown Manhattan. For those that don't, I was on Manhattan Island, south of Central Park, but north of Wall Street. So there was a few things that I picked along the way that I wanted to see. I wanted to see Bryant Park, the New York Public Library, and there were some beautiful things there. Bryant Park is such a cute little park in the middle of the city, and all these beautiful buildings around it. But the park itself, it's well set out, and it's got these cute little coffee places along the edges. And it's also got a lot of activities that it does. It has reading time, and then it has some kids' toys. There's chess players, so you can play chess. There's petanque, a table tennis table, and then so they have all of these activities that they do and plan out, and people can just go and join in. Oh, there was a knitting class as well. I mean, they were all happening the day I was there. They were just I'm just adjusting. I'm sort of trying to work out the best way to put the camera, and I just realised it was a little bit tilted. So if you had sort of tilted your head, you can tilt it back up again. I think I've got it level. So yeah, so Bryant Park wasn't all happening on the day. I did see some markets. I was a bit early, so none of the sort of there's a lot of jewellery, which is the same as the markets back in Australia. But yeah, so not all of the markets were open, all the little stalls were open. But it was a lovely little place. I can understand why people would want to go there quite often. So the New York Public Library was fantastic. It was a really old building, and it was really, really good. So I went in and had a bit of a look around there. I managed to see one of the remaining copies. I don't know how many copies there are left of the Bible, the Gutenberg Bible. So that's the first thing that's ever been printed, and that was amazing. I was really happy to see that, and a few other bits and pieces of things. So yeah, so that was a really good start. And then I decided to just head down Fifth Avenue, and there was a few things along the way. Saks on Fifth, I went shopping at Saks. I didn't buy anything because It was all very expensive. And then I went up to the Rockefeller Centre, and not up to the top, I just sort of walked around outside it. Saw the Rainbow Room and things like that. So the NBC sort of headquarters. Checked out the Lego store. My friend Leah recently just got back from the US, and she went to a place, I think it was in Minnesota. Again, it's probably going to be down the bottom here when I tell you. It was the World of Malls or something like that. Massive place. Anyway, she went to the Lego store there and was impressed with all the builds that were there. So I went to the Lego store again, not necessarily to buy anything, but just to see some of the builds, and it was fantastic. There's some really good detail there, so I've put some photos in of that. I also went to the M&M store. Again, I don't know why. I think I know of people that have gone there, and it just the idea of just seeing rows and rows of M&Ms, even though it's, I don't know. I didn't buy again. I didn't buy anything. I just went in there and had a look at stuff, and then took some photos. After that, I sort of made my way down 7th Avenue. I think, yeah. I think when you go south, it's called downtown. I don't know. But the reason to go down 7th Avenue is because it turns into Times Square at some point. And I just thought, oh, you've got to do Times Square. If I'm in the area, I'm going to go see Times Square. And it was madness. Absolute madness. What I did like about it, though, so you've got all of, I think it's Times, so it's, I don't know what avenue it is going that, or street it's going that way, but it's 7th Avenue, and Broadway links into it, and it's sort of like a bit of an intersection of three streets. But they've put these sort of like bleachers, so there's a sort of seating area, and you can, but really it's for people to go up so they can actually get a shot of Times Square, which I thought was a really good idea. And that's what I've done. I've gone up there, taken a few shots, had a look at all of the massive big billboards, and just saw the people. It was amazing. There was people everywhere. It's the most people I saw. The whole time walking around New York, I was expecting that I'm going to have to be, one, on my guard, two, I'm going to have to be walking really fast because, New Yorkers, get out the way, because New Yorkers are New Yorking on the streets of New York. And so I thought, oh gosh, will I be able to keep up with them? Oh my goodness. Really wasn't that bad. There was a lot of slow people. I could have overtaken, and I did overtake them. I have a feeling they were tourists. Speaking of tourists, there's so many New York souvenir shops that if you can't find a New York souvenir, there's something wrong with you. The other thing is, on a lot of corners, they have people touting for tickets on the hop-on, hop-off bus tours. And so they just stop people and they yell out, hey, do you want to hop on bus, hop on, and try and get a bit of business. No one stopped me. And I sort of think that's, maybe they thought that me with my backpack on, I look like a New Yorker and obviously not a tourist. And so they didn't bother me, which I thought was really good. I was feeling really confident. And like I said, I was walking, in Times Square. Obviously there's so many people, but they're all walking different kind of speeds anyway. So, you know, you just got to just maneuver your way through. But for the rest of my time walking around New York, I didn't think it was that bad. I really, you know, I wasn't elbowed out the way or anything like that. Now, again, I've only gone to Midtown. I don't know what it's like in different parts of New York. I'll let you know. After Times Square, I headed back to the hotel, had a well-earned rest, because honestly my feet were killing me. I'd done a lot of walking, but it was nice weather, so I was really happy, and I thought it was a really good start to what could be a love affair with New York, because I really did enjoy that day walking around. So the differences this week that I want to talk about are lighting. So what I'm finding in the US is that the apartments and hotels that I'm going into don't have a lot of overhead lighting. And I will say that this is just apartments and hotels. It's not, I don't know what houses are like. I haven't really been in any houses to see what happens there, but they just don't seem to have overhead lights. And which is something I'm finding a bit disconcerting, because I am someone who likes a lot of light. What they do though is they have wall switches. Oh, and the wall switches go down instead of up, or up instead of down. I don't know, I'll show you. So this is the light switch. Now, over in Australia, you would say that light is switched off, but no, it's on in the US. So you press it down and it goes off, press it up, it goes on. Weird. Different. No judgment. Sorry, I'm supposed to be non-judgy here. Anyway, so what they do is they have light switches on the walls, but they're generally attached to lamps. So they're attached to sockets in the wall that you plug in lamps for, whether they be table lamps or floor lamps or whatever. And so the idea then is that you control the lamps by those light switches. But the thing is, the lamps also have switches on them. And so if you turn the lamp off by the switch, I think it stops the wall switch working, or vice versa. I haven't worked out yet. I haven't sat down and worked out, but all I know is that I'm trying to turn this light on by the wall and it won't go on. And yet when I use the switch and turn it on, I can then go back to the wall and turn it off. It's very confusing for me. And so now I just don't touch, I try not to touch the wall switches at all, and I just go with the lamps. And they have little twisty things as well. You know, we have lamps that, there's normally buttons or something like that. Even the touch ones. I don't know if they have touch lamps over here. I'm going to check that out. But yeah, so the lighting here is all very bizarre. That they just use it all for lamps, table lamps and things like that. And I know that before I got here, I was asked what furniture I'm going to get for my apartment. And it did say lamps, and I'm thinking, I don't use lamps because I've got the lights above. But now I'm going to have to rethink that and get me some table lamps and floor lamps, because otherwise I'll be living in complete darkness. Anyway, that's the differences for this week. If there's something that you've got a burning question for of differences between the US and Australia, let me know. Hi everyone, I've been in the editing room and realised that, as per usual, I've talked way too much, and as such this video is going to be so long. So I've decided to split it into 2 parts. So I hope you've enjoyed up to so far what I've done in New York. Please hang around for part 2, where I talk about Little Shop of Horrors and the Empire State Building, and let you know just how I've been doing. So hope to see you on the other side. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.